Overall, I've really tried to keep that balance and make sure I'm the time and the love and the care and all that. So and sacrifice the business instead of the family. So that's the balance, intention we should go through.
From the IT company, it's Made Right Here, the stories of East Tennessee founders, creators, and builders. From the idea behind it to the impact it had on the community, their employees, and their personal lives, we're taking you behind the scenes of the movements they built.
If you're in Knoxville, at some point you've probably enjoyed a cup of Petro's chili. In our last episode, we got to take you behind the scenes of where Petro's all began. Hey, it's Macy Brink with the IT company. On today's Made Right Here, we have part 2 with Dale Widmer. You're going to hear more about his heart behind Petro's, his experience in finding balance as an entrepreneur, and what he's learned along this path. You're going to love it. Check it out.
The business, over the years though, Stefan, there's been a lot of times, it's not all, it's not, in having your own business, and people ask us, well, we take a couple steps forward, then a step back, sometimes, more than one step back. And so it's just been that. We've been in times, I can remember a time when my kids were in high school, I had to go to them and say, guys, business is really struggling right now financially. I don't know if we're going to make it. And, I told my daughter that, and she's not, and Alex was okay. I mean, it's like, we're going to be okay. It's just that, things may have to change in a big way and and all that. And so that freaked out my daughter a little bit. But anyway, so there's been some hard conversations, but the business has taken its toll at times with my energy and time having to be committed to the business, and wear a lot of hats. And so there's been times when I've spent too much time and dedicated too much time to the business, at the expense of my family or my wife. But overall, I've really tried to keep that balance and make sure I'm the time and the love and the care and all that. So and sacrifice the business instead of my family. So that's that balance and tension as you go through.
What would you say to that entrepreneur that's out there, listening to this, that's struggling with that right now? Right, they've got a wife, they've got kids at home, and yet the business is demanding certain resources of their time, etc. What advice would you give to them to help balance that? I mean, what are some things that you've done, that you've experienced, that have been positive for you professionally and with your family as you have grown Petro's over the years?
Stephen, that's a tough question, and but I can tell you 100%. God first, your wife, your family, business. In that order, in terms of priorities, it has to always be that way for me, in order to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So sometimes, and knowing that, if those are my priorities, then what am I doing to equip people and systems in the business to make sure that things aren't just falling apart? So and that's been part of the problem. Sometimes I've worn so many hats. It's like if I step out and I do things and then everything starts falling apart. Oh, they need me. I'm so necessary to the business, and I think we as entrepreneurs have to be able to recognize that and pull away and equip other folks and train and delegate it properly so that people can grow and develop and and take part of the control of the company away from the owners in a healthy way. So we just always have to remember that. I remember. So no matter how hard I worked during the day, when I came home and the kids are there and I've had a long, tough, challenging day and I'm getting ready to go inside, and it's like, I've got to, I need to reserve at least 10% of my energy, and so that I can go in and be a good husband and a great dad and all those things. So, and that doesn't change. I mean, even now, if I have days that are just full of meetings, and I can say, oh man, I'm drained after all these meetings and the hard work and all that, but God, my wife, my family, even my extended family. My kids both, they've blessed us with 6 grandkids, 4 and under. So I mean, I got to have energy for that.
Mm-hmm. Good luck.
So it's a blessing. I'm blessed. I'm thankful, and that's the other thing. It's always being thankful for what I've got, regardless. Gives me the spirit of thankfulness. Keeps me humble, and hopefully being a good servant leader, a servant husband, to my wife and a servant dad to my kids. So
Yeah.
that'd be my advice: God, wife, and kids.
Have your priorities in line and make decisions based on those priorities, right? Not necessarily the other way around.
That's exactly right. Because the tendency that I mean, what I've been guilty of and made the mistake of is like, well, no, honey, I just can't do that, or just because I'm just so busy, this has happened at work, I just can't do it. So she gets the leftovers and gets taken advantage of by me because I'm working on this really important stuff over here, and that's just wrong. So,
what is the most exciting thing to you about Petros? Thinking back kind of over your career, is it cutting that ribbon and opening the door? Is it leading the team of people? What gets you excited, even after all these years of making a Petro? What is it that excites you about the business?
When we do open a new store and I see customers coming in that are not familiar with the brand, or they are, whatever, just to see people just talk and be positive about the brand, and oh my gosh, I've never had anything like this. That still really it's like, man, maybe we actually have something that's going to actually work. It's going to be successful, because there's been a lot of doubts along the way about can our concept make it, and are we a local concept, and we may be, and we're fine with any of that. But I think, still when we expose new people to the brand and we hear and even if they come in, Market Square is a great store. We get a lot of new people, and they say, hey, you're from out of town, so try this, tell me what you think, and they come back going, man, this is awesome, when are you going to put one in my city? And so to hear that just is so encouraging and exciting to know that people seem in general to like the brand. If we can get our product in someone's mouth, then there's a good chance that they'll like it and they'll be back. And so we just need to keep widening that deal. So, but that still gets me excited.
How do you instill that excitement into your team? Right, I'm a 19-year-old kid, and I come to work at Petros, and I'm meeting with you on day one. How do you put that excitement into me to get me excited about that customer experience?
Well, that's our challenge. There's two ways we can be successful. I think somebody told me this recently. It's like you can have your operation nailed down and do everything always the same, do it right, and do everything. And companies are very successful doing that. And other companies are very successful with their development, their culture, their training, the experience that you have when you're in their business. I said, now the businesses that can take both of those things, and they're the ones that are way up here. So we would love to get into that category. And they told us they thought we had our operation down pretty dang good. This is their perspective. I said, but over here, the experience and so what you're asking about the people, and that's what we're trying to really get good at. And we've gone up and down in that. We started out that, but I was always, and my brother, we were always in the stores around the people. So it's a little easier when you're there, always cheerleading and motivating and inspiring, and just get rah and all that, and that's good. But now, how do we transform that into management and leaders and all down that? That's something that we're trying. When we hire people, is to go through all of our core values and talk about you're becoming part of this team, and you're an important part of the team, and we have a personal growth and development program for you. Whether you're 16 years old and you're in high school and you're going to work for us for a couple, 3 years, what do you want? Where do you want to grow in that? Or you come to us at 40 years old, you want to work and move into management, or whatever you want to do. We'll develop and grow you. So and you're part of something a lot bigger than you are. We all are. We're part of this Petros team and our culture. So we're really trying to instill that in everybody that comes to work, and not just in words. We've got our mission, vision, purpose, all, and core values all on the walls. That's great, but if we're not acting that out, and we're not actually living that ourselves, and we're not treating people that way, and they aren't feeling that, because it's real easy to sit down in somebody's orientation and say, well, here's what we're all about. All these things, it's all positive, and they're feeling really good. Then they go in the store, it's like, okay, that was just semi-hogwash, all talk and no action. So for us that's the key for us to continue on that development and all that, and the experience. I'm saying the experience, we have our internal and our external customers. So we've got our external customers, which is the public, and then we have our internal customers, which is our staff. And so we have to pay just as close attention to both of those. And so that's what we're trying to continue to improve in that whole development and growth of really caring and developing our people so that they know that they are part of something much bigger than themselves and that their contributions are very critical to the success of the company and also to their own success. So it's a challenge, but that's what we're really trying to focus on right now.
Yeah, you mentioned C12 as a resource,
Mm-hmm.
the accountability group. What are just quick hit some other things that you've used that to kind of learn and grow you personally as an entrepreneur?
Oh, I've been a member of, I don't remember what it's called, like a family business, something, which again was all entrepreneurs with family businesses, similar thing, where we had an advisory board and all that. And then as I've gone along, there's just been different people, business guys, or Christian brothers or sisters that are just mentors to me and bounce things off of them in terms of business, personal, that have just continued to help me to hopefully grow as a person and our business to make sure, are we looking at this thing wrong, and just to present that to people outside of our company. So that's one thing that over the last, probably 10 years, I've done a lot more of that than I did the first 20 years I was in business. So if I could go back and do it over, I would, like I've already said, I would start that from day one, and I think maybe we wouldn't have run into quite as many challenges and made as many mistakes and gone, maybe we'd only go, in 5 directions at once instead of 25.
Tell me about your influences growing up. You mentioned, working for your parents. Were they an influence to you? Did you have other influences growing up that have affected you and built you into the person that you are today?
I sure have, Stefan. My parents, to go to them, yes, they, like as I told you earlier, they always encouraged myself and my 2 brothers and sister. There were 4 of us, and I was the oldest. They always encouraged us to, push hard and work hard and try new things, and they were always encouraging us to do that. So they never tried to hold us back to do anything. So I think a lot of my inspiration to try new things and to do difficult things and new challenges was a lot of push by them. But my dad's, he worked when we moved to Gatlinburg, and after he resigned from the Park Service, he went to work for a gentleman named Jim Girding with the Pancake Pantry in Gatlinburg. And so they became great friends, and we became great friends with their family. And his son Scott was my age, and so we went to school together. And he ended up becoming an entrepreneur in the restaurant business, and so I did too. But Jim was always there. We went to him, I did, and my brother several times throughout our childhood. And actually, Jim's still alive; he's 92 now. But he was very helpful to us in just helping us. He's the one that told us to draw up a partnership agreement and do a buy-sell agreement. And then we go back and have challenges. Well, here's some things y'all could do to work on, whether it's internal or whether it's external. I wish I would have done that more, but he was very helpful because he was a very successful business person in Gatlinburg, but he also was just a great guy and a good friend of the family. So he was very influential in just guiding and pushing and encouraging and along the way. I wish I would have gone to it more though, along the way. And then, like I said, my parents were great influences, and like I said, I also said, and if I could go back and do it over again, and this when my 2 kids came to me, especially Alex wanted to go into his own business. Well, what would you do? Or if anybody comes to me and asks me, well, I want to go into my own business, what advice would you give me? I'd say this. One thing I always say is, don't do like I did, just think you can do it all alone or just you and another person. So you've got to get an outside perspective, whether that's a board of directors, a business coach, a mentor, or several mentors, to be getting in front of regularly and saying, here's what we're doing, here's our financials, this is what we're working on, so that somebody's breathing into your business and looking at it from a different perspective than you are and your team is. So that's the one advice I would give, and so that and my son did that for sure when he went into his business, and it worked out really well for him in his own entrepreneur business that he worked on for 8 years or so. But that was a big influence, and as you know, I'm in this group called C12, which is like a advisory board, somewhat of an advisory board with 10, 12 other business owners in there or CEOs, that type of thing. And so that biblically focused in the business resources and the spiritual disciplines and all the things that we get from each other has been a real helpful to her. And my partner Dan and I both have been in C12 now for, I guess, going a little over 2 years. So that's been just a good for us to do that. And Alex is part of that as well now. So that's just, as of recent, that's been more of a thing that's really helped our business to focus on what's important. So, and again, it gets into that advisory board or board of directors kind of a thing. It's helpful to me.
Yeah. Tell me about Alex. You know, in a way, Petro's is almost becoming a legacy business, right? With your son being involved. Did you push him? Did you pull him? Was he interested? You mentioned he went off and kind of did his own thing. I can think of, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, type A drivers that start a business and, you know, son, daughter, you're going to be in this business, and they grow up in it. Talk to me about that process. How did that work with him and you and your all's relationship in the business?
Yeah, that's a good question. Alex came to me when he was in college. I think at some point in college, I think maybe his junior year, when he was trying to think, what am I going to do? And he came to me, and he was majoring in business administration and entrepreneurship and marketing. I think that was all part of his degree. But he came to me and he said, hey, Dad, and he said, you know, I'd really like to do what you do. I said, well, I don't know why he thought that. But
Can't imagine why.
are you sure you're sane? Anyway, so I said, well, that's I appreciate you saying that. That makes me feel good that you want to do that. I said, but here's the thing. What you need to do is you need to go out on your own and work for other companies, do something on your own, whatever you need to do, and make your mistakes out there and learn from those and do all that. And you may decide that the restaurant business is something you don't even want to have anything to do with. And so, so he did that. He actually started out in the restaurant business a little bit, working for a couple other companies, and did that for a couple of years. And then he went into his own video production company and worked on that and grew it and did really well and was very talented at that. So actually, my two partners, my brother and Dan, they had met Alex, and so I was, hey, will Alex come on board? And I said, I can try, you know. So they went after him, and he said no, and went back to him. And then I think a couple times, one point he said, guys, it's not a matter of, you know, if I'm going to come, just maybe when, that type of thing. So then there came a time where we were in need of a position in our company, director of operations, and we were in a pretty important position. So I went to him, I said, well, Alex, here's the deal. Could you possibly consider this? So he said he would. So I had my partners go talk to him again, and this time he said he would take the leap and do it. So that was just under 2 years ago. So that was the process. So we actually had to kind of go after him and get him to come in, and it's been a blessing to have him, you know, on board. But he's in the middle of it all now. So
that's awesome. What's next on the horizon for Petros?
Well, growth is in our future, we think, but part of growth for us, and this is what we're finding, is we have this already, and so we need to continue to work on what we have and build. And there's a lot of opportunity and growth within the existing stores that we have, whether they're corporate stores or whether they're franchise stores. How can we continue to improve our systems and our culture and our brand? And we got some real good insight the other day from the Chamber of Commerce, and they did a focus group on one of our stores and our brand. And they said, you all are an iconic brand. He said, but here, that was their observation from an outside. Said, but you're somewhat of a hidden iconic brand. You know, you are in Knoxville, but what can we do to make that brand known to everybody? And that goes to our Market Square store specifically for now, because that store we opened up 3 months before COVID, 4 months before COVID hit, I think. And we're very excited to be back at our roots downtown near the World's Fair side, all that. So that's exciting. People really received us well. And that was, you know, the end of November 2019, I believe it was, right? And so then December, January, February, and then March. Yeah. So that was, and we had to close that store down for 2 months because the downtown just dried up. It was desolate down there, which was pretty sad. But there's a lot of people that visit downtown, whether they're a lot of out-of-towners and all that, and we want them to visit Petros when they're there. And so what can we do as a brand so that people know that whenever if I go to Knoxville, I've got to go to Petro's, because you get this, famous award-winning signature iced tea, and you get this world-famous Petro. That what is a Petro, or what is a Petro, or whatever they, or our graphics are what is a Petro, because we still get to ask that. What's a Petro? People ask us that all the time, even people that live here. A big part of our exposure is at Neyland Stadium or Thompson Bowling, whether people are in town or from out of town. So that's so we're just trying to. We have some pretty good ideas on what we can do to really try to get our brand to be so well known in this area that when people visit Knoxville, we want them to think, hey, I can't not visit Knoxville without stopping at Petro's and just checking them out and seeing what they're all about. And then how do we take that? And when we go, we just opened up 2 stores over in around Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. We're getting ready to open a 3rd one, franchise stores. Now, how can we take that same feel, and we're going to go over here and do that, and several hundred miles away. So what does that look like? And how are we going to get people to know our brand over there, which is even more challenging. So we're it's not like we have this unlimited advertising budget like a lot of our friendly competitors have.
Right. So what's next for Dale? You mentioned you said it. You're 65. For some people, they're just counting down the days till retirement, right? And you're still out there getting it done daily. Tell me about the motivation to do that. What's next for you? What's on your horizon?
Well, I'm in pretty good health right now. Thankful for that. That could end tomorrow, so who knows? It's all where none of us are guaranteed anything. But part of what even re-inspired me more was my son coming on board, Alex, about a year and a half, and that's just with him really passionate and into the business. That's just re-inspired me even more. So always been into it. So just to what it's going to look like for us to continue to grow and perhaps pass on to the next generation, what that looks like. I don't know that I want to retire in terms of how people look at retirement, but maybe it'd be good to take it a little bit easier as we go along. But I'm enjoying it. It's fun. Sometimes it's stressful, and there's conflict and whatnot as we grow and try to. All of us, because there's multiple owners, and so how we all agree and get on the same page and all that. It's always challenging, but I enjoy it. It's fun, and I always say, well, if Petro's doesn't make it, and I have to go get a job for somebody, it's going to be a challenge. but hopefully we're building something that even will allow me to, financially take it a little bit easier at some point. But anyway, it's all good now. Enjoying it and just working hard.
Yeah. Tell me about. Last question here. Do you think you have learned more through your successes or through your failures, and why?
That's a great question, Stefan. And I would have to say, to me, it's a both and. It's either or, both and. Because for me, I've places where I've failed, and I've had a lot of failures where you have to get back up, knock the dust off, and keep going. A lot of that's been just decisions that have been made to do something, whether it's to hire a certain person or to open a store here, and then that's been a failure. So we learn from those mistakes, and so let's try not to make that mistake. But the next time we hire somebody, let's make sure we do this. So there's been a lot of growth from that. But then also on the success end, when we do bring in, and it's our business is all about people. We have about 140 people that work for us, and so that are part of our Petro's team. And to see people come in, especially whether they're young or older, and see them develop and grow as a person or grow in their leadership skills, and we've always been about that. That's very rewarding. Or to see a store that opens and we hit home runs and it's successful, that's very inspiring to me. So that success inspires it. Man, we can continue to do this. Let's repeat ourselves and do that. Let's not repeat those failures. So for me, my greatest lessons have come from both. I've learned a lot from my failures, and I've learned a lot from our successes.
Such great insight from Dale, and so unique to hear the story behind the chili everyone in Knoxville knows and loves. Dale's episode was super fun for us to record, and we loved having our guest host, Stefan Wilson of Allevia Technology. Thank you to both Dale and Stefan for being a part of Made Right Here. We hope you all enjoyed listening to Dale's story as much as we did. Join us in 2 weeks for another episode of Made Right Here.